And I want you to think about what are some of the things you could have got done in your 20s that you didn't get done in your 20s? What are some things that you didn't get done in your 30s that you could have got done in your 30s? I think about my relationship with my real father. It didn't happen. So I initiated at the end of my 20s, early 30s, I initiated the relationship. I'm like, bro, what was you waiting on? And some of you in this room, there are things that you should have done in your 20s that you didn't do when we walk out of here today. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care none about your past. I don't care what they say about you. I don't care what's going on. I don't care if you're a felon. I don't care if you're divorced. I don't care if you've got kids all over the place. When you walk up out this joker, you're going to walk in your anointing. You're going to walk in your calling, and you're going to be who God called you to be. So let it be written, so let it be done. You a man, you don't have to show people you have what you really have. You have it. But when you're a boy and you seek attention, you need people to see what you have. If you really have it, shouldn't it be enough that you have it? So what I'm hoping for this group, I'm asking that a group of males would make sure they transition from malehood to boyhood, to adolescence, to manhood, and then the man's man. Malcolm was a man's man. Malcolm came out from Detroit Red to Malcolm X. When Malcolm came out, like, they listened to me very closely. They were able to convince women to join. They couldn't get the pimps and the hustlers to do it. When Malcolm came out, Malcolm was Chicago, Detroit, New York. Malcolm was all over the world recruiting men. And I'm talking about If Why All Saw Again. Some of it is fiction, but some of it's true. I love it. I love it. I love it. When the Italian mob came up with the guns, Malcolm said, you got people with guns. I got men willing to die for me. We all got guns. My guys, they don't just got guns. They're willing to lose their life for me. What? When the nation was up, when nobody playing, when a man was on the block, they wasn't playing with Malcolm X. They wasn't playing with the Nation of Islam. They playing with us. They don't take us serious, so they don't mind driving and coming in and blowing up our neighborhood because they like the men ain't going to be there anyway. Go do your homework and see who was shot and killed. The men ain't going to be there anyway. They're going to be somewhere either sleeping around. They're going to be going somewhere trying to make some money. They're not going to be at the kingdom. You can't come to a kingdom that's protected. You can't run up on a kingdom that's protected, but you can run up on a kingdom full of boys. You can run up on a kingdom full of boys. You can take boys, you can't take men. So even when you plot who you're going to take, you're going to go somewhere where ain't nobody there to protect. A lot of the problems we see in our community because we're not where we're supposed to be. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a simple question. How often do we find ourselves starting something only to stop when it gets tough? How many dreams have you abandoned? How many goals left unfulfilled because you couldn't stay consistent? I'm here to tell you today that the difference between success and failure isn't talent. It's not luck, it's consistency. The willingness to show up day after day, even when you don't feel like it. We've all been there. You're excited in the beginning, fueled by motivation and enthusiasm, but then the grind begins. Life gets in the way, obstacles come up. And what do? We step back, we pause. We tell ourselves we'll get back to it when we have more energy or when things calm down. But let me tell you something, that day may never come if you keep waiting for the perfect moment. The secret is to force yourself to be consistent, even when it's uncomfortable. Consistency is more powerful than motivation, and that's a truth you need to embed deep into your core if you ever want to reach the pinnacle of your potential. Motivation is like a spark. It's bright, it's exciting, and it gets things moving. But just like any flame, it dies down, and what you're left with is either a pile of ash or a steady, smoldering fire that can keep burning even when the winds pick up. That steady fire, that's what consistency is. It's not flashy, but it's reliable, and in the end, it's what will carry you across the finish line when everyone else is burned out. You see, motivation is like a mood. It comes and goes. There will be days you wake up and feel unstoppable. You'll leap out of bed ready to tackle the day full of energy and drive. But let's be honest, that's not every day. Most days you wake up with a list of excuses as long as your arm. You'll be tired, you'll be sore. Maybe the weather's bad. Maybe you had a rough night's sleep. Whatever it is, on those days, motivation is nowhere to be found. It abandons you right when you need it the most. That's why you can't rely on it. You can't wait for the stars to align and for everything to feel perfect because, let's face it, life doesn't work like that. Things will always get in the way, and if you let them, you'll be stuck in a cycle of waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, or the perfect spark to get moving. Consistency, on the other hand, doesn't care about your mood. It doesn't care if you're feeling tired or stressed or if the weather is bad. Consistency says, I don't care how you feel today, we're doing this anyway. And that's where the magic happens, because the moment you stop relying on motivation and start building consistency, you become unstoppable. It's like flipping a switch in your mind. You shift from waiting for things to feel right to making things right through sheer willpower and discipline. It's not about being in the mood to do the work, it's about making the work a non-negotiable part of your life. Think about it for a second. Look at anyone who has achieved greatness in their field. Athletes, artists, business leaders, what do they all have in common? It's not that they're always motivated. No, it's that they've mastered the art of showing up day in and day out, no matter what. They've made consistency their greatest ally, and that's why they're at the top. It's not that they don't face obstacles or challenges. They do, just like everyone else. The difference is they've trained themselves to push through those tough moments, to keep going when it's hard, when it's uncomfortable, when everyone else would rather quit. That's the power of consistency. It builds habits. And once you've developed those habits, the work becomes automatic. It's no longer about how you feel in the moment. It's about staying true to the commitment you make to yourself. When you've been consistent for long enough, skipping a workout or taking a day off doesn't feel like a relief. It feels wrong. It feels like you're betraying yourself, because this habit has become a part of who you are. That's what separates those who achieve their goals from those who don't. The ones who succeed have woven consistency into the fabric of their lives. They've made it a part of their identity. But make no mistake, building that level of consistency takes time. It takes effort. It takes discipline. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's not exciting. No one's going to applaud you for getting up at 5 a.m. to hit the gym or for staying late at the office to finish a project. But that's okay, because discipline isn't about recognition. It's about doing what needs to be done, whether anyone's watching or not. Discipline is the muscle that powers consistency, and like any muscle, it gets stronger the more you use it. The more you show up, the easier it becomes to keep showing up. And let's talk about that for a moment. Showing up, that's half the battle. Most people quit before they even begin. They talk themselves out of it before they've had a chance to make progress. They let their feelings dictate their actions. But you have to be different. You have to show up even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it, because those are the moments that matter the most. Those are the moments that separate the average from the exceptional. It's easy to show up when you're excited, when everything's going your way, when the motivation is high. But can you show up when things aren't going your way? Can you show up when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when you're tired and frustrated? That's the true test. And when you pass that test, when you show up consistently day after day, you start to build something incredible. You start to build momentum. Each small action builds on the last, and before you know it, you've created a wave of progress that carries you forward. And that momentum, that's powerful. It pushes you through the tough days. It makes it easier to keep going, because you've already invested so much time and effort that stopping now feels like a betrayal of everything you've worked for. But here's the thing about consistency. It's not just about putting in the time. It's about putting in the right kind of time. It's about being intentional with your actions. Just going through the motions isn't enough. You have to bring focus and energy to what you're doing, even on the days when it feels like a grind. Consistency isn't about being robotic. It's about being relentless. It's about constantly striving to improve, to get a little better each day, even when it feels like you're not making progress. And that's another important point. Consistency doesn't always yield immediate results. In fact, most of the time, the results come much later. It's like planting seeds. You don't see the fruit right away, but if you keep tending to the soil, keep watering, keep nurturing, eventually you'll have a garden full of abundance. But that only happens if you're patient enough to wait for the harvest. Too many people give up right before they would have seen the results. They plant the seeds, but when they don't see growth right away, they walk away. Don't be that person. Understand that consistency is a long game. It's not about quick wins. It's about sustained effort over time. And that's why consistency is more powerful than motivation. Motivation might get you started, but it's consistency that keeps you going. It's what separates the dreamers from the doers. The people who achieve their goals aren't the ones who are always motivated. They're the ones who show up day after day, even when they don't want to. They're the ones who keep pushing, even when it's hard. They're the ones who've built consistency into their lives, and because of that, they've created habits that carry them through the toughest of times. So when the excitement fades, when the motivation dies down, and when you're tempted to quit, remember this, it's not about how you feel in the moment. It's about staying true to the commitment you made to yourself. It's about building the discipline to keep showing up even when you don't want to, because in the end, that's what will carry you to success. We often convince ourselves that in order to achieve greatness, we must perform grand, extraordinary acts. We trick ourselves into believing that monumental leaps are the only way to move forward, that if we don't make a huge splash, then what we're doing doesn't matter. But this mentality can be devastating. It's like standing at the base of a mountain, looking up at the peak and feeling paralyzed by the sheer size of it. The enormity of the task ahead makes it feel impossible to even start. So we hesitate, we wait, we make excuses, we allow fear and doubt to grip our hearts because in our minds we've already failed before we've even taken the first step out. But here's the truth: you need to grab hold of success is not found in those massive life-changing moments. No, it's built in the small daily actions that seem inconsequential in the moment. It's not about giant leaps, it's about those tiny incremental steps that seem too small to matter, but over time they add up to something remarkable. Too many people get caught up in waiting for that perfect moment, for that big break, for that stroke of luck to propel them forward. But if you spend your life waiting for those monumental moments, you'll be standing still forever. What you have to understand is that small steps, those little moves that seem like they aren't making a difference, are what lead to big results. Imagine for a second that you are climbing that mountain not by running or leaping, but by placing one foot in front of the other. With every step, no matter how small, you get a little higher, a little closer to the summit. You can't always see how much progress you're making day by day. Sometimes it feels like you're stuck in the same place, but when you look back after months or years of consistent effort, you'll be amazed at how far you've come. The key is consistency. It's not about making one big effort and hoping it carries you through to the end. It's about showing up every single day, putting in the work, even when it feels like nothing's happening. It's like a seed planted in the ground. For days, weeks, maybe even months, you won't see anything sprouting. You'll water it, you'll nurture it, but it seems like nothing is growing. But below the surface, where you can't see, there's movement. Roots are stretching deep into the soil, getting ready to support the growth that's about to burst forth. That's what small steps are like. You don't always see the results immediately, but that doesn't mean progress isn't happening. Think about the stories of successful people you admire. They didn't wake up one day at the top of their game. They didn't suddenly become the best in their field overnight. They took small, deliberate steps every day, often for years, before they saw the big results that everyone else notices. And that's the thing, people only see the end result. They see the glory, the accolades, the fame, the fortune. What they don't see are the countless hours of hard work, the sacrifices, the setbacks, the failures that paved the way for that success. Those small steps may not be glamorous. In fact, they often feel tedious. It's not always fun to wake up early, to stay late, to do the same thing day in and day out. But that's where the magic happens. It's in the repetition, in the grind, that you build momentum. One step leads to another, and before you know it, you've created a habit, a rhythm. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts small, but as it keeps moving, it gathers more and more snow until it's massive and unstoppable. That's what happens when you commit to taking small steps. Too many people give up because they don't see immediate results. They want the shortcut. They want the quick fix. But the truth is, anything worth having takes time. Real, lasting success isn't built on a foundation of shortcuts. It's built on persistence, on resilience, on the willingness to keep going when it feels like you're not making any progress. Because here's the thing, small steps lead to big results, but only if you keep taking them. The minute you stop, you lose that momentum and you're back at square one. It's easy to get discouraged when you're not seeing immediate returns on your effort. It's tempting to think, what's the point? But that's the moment when you need to dig deep. That's the moment when you need to remind yourself why you started in the first place. You didn't begin this journey because it was easy. You started because you had a goal, a vision of where you wanted to be. And that vision doesn't come to life by sitting back and waiting for something to happen. It comes to life through action, small, consistent action. You have to embrace the process. You have to fall in love with the journey, not just the destination, because the journey is where you grow. The journey is where you're tested, where you learn what you're truly capable of. Each small step is an opportunity to prove to yourself that you can do this, that you have what it takes. And when the big results finally come, and you'll look back and realize that it wasn't one giant leap that got you there. It was the accumulation of all those small steps, each one building on the last, creating a path that led you to your goal. And let me tell you something else, those small steps, they build character, they teach you discipline, they teach you patience, they force you to develop a work ethic that will serve you for the rest of your life. Because if you can commit to the small steps, if you can show up every day and put in the effort, no matter how small, then there is nothing you can't achieve. Success isn't about luck, it's about preparation meeting opportunity. And preparation happens in the small moments, in the daily grind, in the tiny, seemingly insignificant steps you take when no one is watching. So don't underestimate the power of those small steps. Don't get discouraged when progress feels slow, because every step you take is moving you closer to your goal. Every step is building momentum. Every step is laying the foundation for the big results that are coming your way. You might not be able to see the finish line yet, but trust that it's there. And the only way you're going to reach it is by taking one step at a time. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for the stars to align or for someone to give you permission to start. Take that first step today, no matter how small it may seem. And then take another one tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. Keep moving forward, keep building, keep striving. Because when you do, you'll look back one day and realize that those small steps have led to something far greater than you ever imagined. Big results don't come from big leaps, they come from small, steady, consistent effort. And if you commit to that, if you commit to taking those small steps every day, then success isn't just possible, it's inevitable. When you hit that wall, the one where your body aches, your mind is exhausted, and every fiber of your being is telling you to quit, what do? That wall isn't just physical exhaustion or mental fatigue, it's something much deeper. It's the embodiment of every doubt, every fear, and every excuse that's ever held you back. It whispers in your ear, you can't do this, you're not strong enough, it's too hard. That's the voice of resistance. And that resistance, it's a universal force. Every person who has ever tried to achieve greatness has faced it. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent, not luck, but the ability to break through that wall when it stands tall in front of you. There's no avoiding it. The wall will come. It might be when you're chasing a dream that feels too big, when you're working on a project that's overwhelming, or when life just seems to throw more at you than you can handle. But if you want something bad enough, you've got to dig deep and confront that wall head on. And let me tell you, breaking through is not about brute strength, it's about resilience, grit, and the willingness to keep going even when everything inside you is screaming to stop. That wall is made of doubts. Every what if that has ever crossed your mind stacks up like bricks in front of you. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if they're right and I don't have what it takes? Doubts can paralyze you, can make you turn around and walk away before you've even tried. But here's the thing, those doubts are not real. They are illusions, shadows of your insecurities, reflections of your fear. And fear is temporary. The pain of failing might sting, but it fades. The regret of never trying, that lingers. And let's talk about fear for a moment. Fear is the most insidious part of that wall. It will masquerade as caution, as common sense, as logic. It will tell you that you shouldn't take that risk, that you're not ready, that there's too much to lose. But fear has one job, to keep you in your comfort zone. And your comfort zone, that's the very thing holding you back. Growth, progress, and success, none of these things happen in comfort. They happen when you step outside of it, when you face that fear head on and say, not today. And then there are the excuses. Oh, the excuses, I'm too tired, I don't have time, I'll do it tomorrow. We're all guilty of making them. Excuses are easy, convenient, and comfortable. They let you off the hook, make it okay to stop, to take it easy. But excuses are just lies we tell ourselves to justify not doing the hard work. And when you allow excuses to build up, they become part of that wall, making it taller, thicker, harder to break through. Now you might be thinking, okay, I get it, the wall is there, but how do I break through? The answer is simple but not easy: consistency. Consistency is the hammer that breaks down that wall. Not one swing, not two, but day after day, hit after day, hit after hit. Showing up even when you don't want to. Showing up when it's hard, when it's painful, when you're tired, when you'd rather do anything else. That's how you break through. Consistency isn't glamorous. It's not the highlight reel that people see. It's not the big moments of victory. It's the grind, the sweat, the perseverance when no one is watching. It's the alarm going off at 5 a.m. and you dragging yourself out of bed when all you want to do is hit snooze. It's staying late, putting in the extra hours when you'd rather be relaxing. It's making the choice day after day to push a little harder, to go a little further, to keep going even when there's no immediate reward in sight. And let me tell you something else. Consistency is not just about effort, it's about belief. You have to believe that the wall can be broken, because if you don't, you've already lost. If you approach that wall thinking it's too high, too strong, too tough to break through, then it will be. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have, and what you believe will shape your reality. If you believe you can break through, you will. If you don't, you'll turn around at the first sign of resistance. When that voice in your head gets loud, and you have to make a choice. Are you going to listen to it, or are you going to fight back? Because that voice is just another part of the wall. It's your insecurities, your fears, your excuses trying to convince you that it's okay to stop. But your commitment, your desire, your hunger for more, those have to be louder. You have to drown out that voice with the sound of your own determination. Every time you push through the pain, every time you go beyond what you thought you were capable of, you chip away at that wall. And every time you do, you come out stronger on the other side. You start to realize that the wall isn't as solid as it seemed. It's not as impenetrable as you thought. Every challenge you face, every obstacle you overcome makes that wall weaker, makes you stronger. And one day you'll look back and realize that the wall wasn't really there at all. It was just an illusion, a barrier you put up in your own mind. You see, the wall is a test. It's there to see how bad you really want it, to see if you're willing to go the distance, to endure the struggle, to keep moving forward when everything in you wants to quit. Most people will stop at the wall. They'll make their excuses, let their fears take over, and walk away. But you're not most people. If you were, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be standing in front of that wall contemplating how to break through it. You'd already have turned around, but you haven't. And that's the first step. So when you hit that wall, and you will remember this, it's not there to stop you. It's there to challenge you. It's there to see how much you're willing to fight for your dreams, for your goals, for your future. And if you want it bad enough, if you're willing to be consistent, to push past the pain, to fight through the fear, then that wall will crumble. It has no choice but to fall when faced with unwavering commitment. The pain you feel, the struggle you endure, it's temporary. It's the price of progress, the cost of greatness. But the pride, the satisfaction, the fulfillment you'll feel when you break through that wall, made that last. That's what makes it all worth it. So don't stop. Don't turn around. Don't let that wall be the end of your journey. Break through it. Show the world, and more importantly, show yourself that you have what it takes to go the distance. Because on the other side of that wall is everything you've ever wanted. When we think about success, it's easy to get caught up in the final image, the big goal, the reward at the end. We dream about what it feels like to finally reach the pinnacle, to stand at the top and look down at all the hard work behind us. It's natural to want to envision that success, the promotion, the recognition, the financial security, the sense of accomplishment. That outcome is what drives so many of us to wake up each morning and put in the effort. It's the light at the end of the tunnel that keeps us going. But there's a fundamental truth that too many of us forget: the outcome isn't everything. In fact, it's just a small part of the story. What truly matters, what shapes you, what prepares you for the outcome is the process. You see, we are trained to chase outcomes. From a young age, we're taught to think about the reward, getting the A on a test, winning a trophy, landing a good job, or reaching a particular milestone in life. But here's the thing: if you're only focused on the result, you're missing the point. You're ignoring the most crucial part of success, the journey that gets you there. The journey is where the growth happens. It's where the lessons are learned, the character is built, and the real work takes place. It's easy to get impatient. We live in a world where everything is about instant gratification. We want things now. We want the shortcuts, the hacks, the quick solutions to our problems. But the truth is, there are no shortcuts to real success. There is no fast track to greatness. The process cannot be bypassed. It's the grind, the day-to-day effort, the consistency that builds the foundation for success. The outcome may seem glamorous, but it is the process that truly transforms you. Think about it this way: the outcome is a moment, a brief snapshot in time. It's the moment when you achieve what you set out to do. But that moment is fleeting. It passes quickly, and once it's gone, you're left with something far more lasting: the process. The process is the long stretch, the journey filled with ups and downs, failures and breakthroughs. It's the sweat, the struggle, the late nights and the early mornings. It's the sacrifices you make, the hard decisions, and the challenges you overcome. And that process is where you find your true strength. That's where you develop the skills, the mindset, and the resilience to not only achieve success, but to sustain it. Success doesn't just come to those who want it. It comes to those who are willing to put in the work day in and day out, even when the result seems far off, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. It's easy to stay motivated when the goal is within reach. But what about when the goal feels miles away? What about when you're not seeing the progress you expected? That's when the process becomes critical. That's when you have to dig deep and remind yourself that it's not just about the end result. It's about falling in love with the process, trusting that if you continue to show up, continue to put in the work, the outcome will eventually take care of itself. Too often people get discouraged because they're not seeing immediate results. They work hard for a few weeks, maybe even a few months, but when the outcome doesn't appear right away, they give up. They think they failed because the result isn't there yet. But success doesn't work on a timeline that you can predict. It requires patience, it requires faith in the process, even when you can't see the finish line. And that's where consistency comes in. Consistency forces you to commit to the process, to show up every single day, regardless of whether or not the outcome is in sight. It's about putting one foot in front of the other, even when the road is long and the path is uncertain. It's about doing the right things over and over again, trusting that those small daily actions will eventually lead to the result you desire. Consistency isn't glamorous, it's not flashy, but it's the key to success. It's what separates those who dream from those who achieve. When you focus on the process, you allow yourself to grow in ways you never imagined. You become stronger, more disciplined, more resilient. You develop habits that will serve you for a lifetime. You learn to appreciate the small wins, the progress that comes from simply showing up and putting in the effort. You begin to understand that the outcome is just a byproduct of the process. It's the process that molds you, that shapes your character, that teaches you the lessons you need to succeed. The process is where the real work happens. It's where you discover what you're truly made of. It's where you find your grit, your determination, your drive. And when you commit to the process, you become unstoppable. Because once you've learned to love the journey, once you've embraced the daily grind, there's nothing that can stand in your way. The outcome is no longer your sole focus. It becomes secondary. What matters is that you're putting in the work, that you're staying consistent, that you're doing what needs to be done, regardless of whether or not anyone else sees it. And that's the beauty of the process. It's often invisible. People don't see the hours you put in behind the scenes. They don't see the sacrifices you make, the struggles you endure. They only see the outcome, the moment of success. But you know that it's the process that got you there. You know that without the countless hours of effort, without the setbacks and the failures, the outcome would never have been possible. And that knowledge gives you a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment that goes far beyond the result. So the next time you find yourself getting caught up in the outcome, take a step back. Remind yourself that the process is where the magic happens. The process is where you become the person capable of achieving that outcome. The process is what prepares you for success, what equips you with the tools you need to not only reach your goal, but to thrive once you've achieved it. You can't control every outcome. Life is unpredictable, and sometimes things don't go the way we plan. But what you can control is your effort, your dedication, your consistency. You can control how you show up every day, how you approach the process. And when you focus on the process, when you fall in love with the journey, the results will come. They may not come when you expect them, and they may not look exactly how you envisioned, but they will come. And when they do, you'll be ready not just because you wanted the outcome, but because you embraced the process that got you there. So don't chase the result. Don't get so focused on the outcome that you lose sight of the journey. Chase the habit of being consistent. Chase the process, because it's the process that transforms you, that prepares you, that shapes you into the person you're meant to be. And when you fall in love with the process, when you commit to the journey, the outcome will take care of itself. Accountability is a word that cuts through the noise. It's not glamorous or exciting, but it's necessary. Without it, dreams remain just that, dreams. You see, we all have moments where we set lofty goals and feel inspired to change our lives. We write them down, map out the plan, and make promises to ourselves. But then life gets in the way. Distractions, laziness, excuses, they all creep in. Before we know it, those goals we were once so passionate about seem distant, buried under a pile of tomorrows that never came. And why? Because when no one is watching, it's easy to let things slide. It's easy to convince yourself that skipping a day, missing a step doesn't really matter. But here's the truth, it matters more than you can imagine. Each day, each moment is a building block. When you skip today, when you compromise just a little bit, it might feel like a minor misstep. But it's not. Today becomes tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes the next day. Before long, you've lost the momentum, and what started as a small slip has turned into a full-blown retreat from your goals. You've lost ground, not because you couldn't achieve what you set out to do, but because you didn't hold yourself accountable. That's the weight of accountability. It's the invisible force that keeps you in line, that pushes you when no one else is around, and that ensures you're moving forward, even when it's hard. It's easy to say you'll stay committed, but it's accountability that determines whether you'll actually do it. We've all been there, faced with the choice to push ourselves or take the easy way out. Maybe it's waking up at 5 a.m. for a workout. Maybe it's working late to finish that project or studying when you'd rather relax. In those moments, no one else will know if you skip out, if you let it slide, but you will know. And that's where accountability has to come from you. You have to hold yourself to the standard you've set. You have to decide that your goals, your dreams are worth more than the temporary comfort of giving up or making excuses. There's a reason why holding yourself accountable is hard. It's because it forces you to confront the truth. It forces you to look in the mirror and face the person responsible for where you are, the person staring back at you. It's easier to blame circumstances, to point fingers at things outside of your control, but deep down you know that it's on you. You control your actions, your discipline, your effort, and when you fall short, when you skip the work, it's on you. That kind of honesty is tough, but it's necessary if you ever want to be consistent, if you ever want to break through and achieve the things you've set out to do. To hold yourself accountable, you must set standards that you refuse to compromise on. These standards aren't negotiable. They are the line you draw in the sand, the point you won't cross. Whether it's getting up at a certain time, completing a specific task each day, or hitting a target, you set the bar and you don't let yourself fall below it. No excuses, no justifications. It doesn't matter how tired you are, how busy the day was, or how difficult things got, your standards are your guide, and you stay true to them. Writing your goals down is one of the most powerful ways to hold yourself accountable. When you write something down, it becomes real. It's not just a thought floating around in your mind, it's a concrete commitment you've made to yourself. Write them down, make them visible, and look at them every single day. Put them somewhere you can't ignore, on your mirror, your desk, your phone background, whatever it takes to keep them in front of you. Remind yourself daily why you're doing what you're doing. Goals lose power when you forget about them. They become just another thing on a long list of things you'll get to eventually. But when you see them every day, when you remind yourself of the reasons you started, those goals regain their urgency. They stop being something you'll get to later and become something you're working on now in the present. But accountability isn't just about writing things down, it's about action. It's about surrounding yourself with people who will push you to stay on track, people who won't let you off the hook when you fall short. These are the people who care enough about you and your success to call you out when you're slipping. They are the ones who remind you of the standard you've set for yourself and push you to rise to it, even when you don't feel like it. We all need people like that in our lives because, let's face it, we're not always going to feel motivated. There will be days when you don't want to show up, when you're tempted to slack off. But having people in your corner who won't accept your excuses can make all the difference. The people you surround yourself with have a profound impact on your level of accountability. If you're around people who make excuses, who justify mediocrity, it becomes easier to do the same. But if you're around people who push themselves, who set high standards and stick to them, it raises your game. You want to be around those who inspire you to stay disciplined, who remind you of your potential, and who won't let you settle for less than you're capable of. And here's the thing, it's not just about them holding you accountable, it's about you being accountable to them as well. It's about mutual respect and shared commitment. When you know others are counting on you to show up, it adds another layer of responsibility, and that's a powerful motivator. But the most important part of accountability is being honest with yourself. This is where it gets real. You have to look yourself in the mirror every single day and ask the tough question, did I do everything I could today to stay consistent? Did I honor the commitments I made to myself? And you have to answer honestly. If the answer is yes, great, keep going. But if the answer is no, don't make excuses. Don't rationalize or justify why you didn't. Own it. Take responsibility for the fact that you fell short, and then make a plan to do better tomorrow. This level of honesty is rare, but it's what separates those who achieve their goals from those who don't. You can't lie to yourself and expect to succeed. You can't brush off your failures and expect to grow. When you hold yourself accountable, something powerful happens. You start to trust yourself more. You start to believe in your ability to follow through, to stick to your word. And that belief is crucial. It's what gives you the confidence to take on bigger challenges, to set even higher goals, because you know you have the discipline to see them through. Accountability builds self-respect. It's a declaration that you value your word, that when you say you're going to do something, you mean it. That kind of integrity, that commitment to yourself, is what separates those who talk about their dreams from those who actually live them. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Accountability isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up day after day and doing the work even when it's hard. It's about holding yourself to the standard you set, refusing to let yourself off the hook, and pushing through when no one else is watching. Because at the end of the day, the only person who can make your dreams a reality is you. And that starts with holding yourself accountable every single day. Failure is not the enemy. It's not some insurmountable obstacle placed in your path to stop you from achieving your dreams. No, failure is a part of the journey, an integral piece of the puzzle that leads you to where you want to be. But here's the thing, most of us are terrified of it. We fear failure because we've been taught to avoid it, to see it as a reflection of our shortcomings, and that's where so many go wrong. The truth is, failure is one of your greatest teachers. But it only works its magic if you have the courage, the resilience, and the consistency to keep going in spite of it. Think about that for a moment. If you quit when things get tough, if you let every setback convince you that you're not good enough, how will you ever move forward? How will you ever learn? Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the same process. Every successful person, every person who stands at the pinnacle of their craft has faced failure. They've stumbled, fallen, and questioned themselves. The difference: they didn't stay down. They didn't let failure define who they were or what they were capable of. They embraced it, learned from it, and kept moving forward. Now, I know what you're thinking, easier said than done. Failure hurts, it stings, it can shake you to your core, make you question everything, and that's real. That pain, that frustration, that doubt, it's all real. But so is your ability to push through it. So is your capacity to rise after you've fallen. What we often forget is that failure is not final unless we quit. It's just a lesson, a stepping stone on the path to success. You only fail permanently when you decide to stop trying. When you fail, and trust me, you have two choices. You can either let it consume you, let it convince you that you're not good enough, or you can use it. You can turn that failure into fuel, something that drives you to be better, stronger, more determined than ever. The question is not whether you will fail, but how you will respond when you do. Will you let failure stop you, or will you let it sharpen you? Will you allow it to push you to new heights? There's power in failure, but only if you can see it for what it is, a tool. Too often we get caught up in the fear of failure, in the anxiety of messing up, that we forget the opportunities that lie within those moments. Failure forces you to face your weaknesses. It shines a light on the areas where you need to grow. And if you can stand tall in the face of failure, if you can keep moving forward, even when things don't go as planned, you will emerge stronger. Consistency in the face of failure, that's the key. It's easy to stay motivated when things are going well, but what about when they aren't? What about when you've given your all and still come up short? Those are the moments that define you. Those are the moments when your consistency will be tested the most. But those are also the moments when you have the most to gain. If you can push through that, if you can stay committed, even when it feels like the world is against you, there is nothing you can't achieve. Failure is not a roadblock, it's a detour. And detours, while frustrating, often lead you to places you never imagined you'd go. Think about that. Think about the times in your life when something didn't work out the way you wanted it to, and now looking back, you realize it was a blessing in disguise. Failure is like that. It's only in the moment that it feels overwhelming, but with time, with perspective, you'll see that it was setting you up for something greater. The biggest mistake people make is letting failure define them. You are not your failures, you are not your mistakes, you are not the setbacks or the stumbles along the way. You are the person who gets back up, who keeps moving forward, who refuses to be defeated. That's who you are. And that's what success is about: persistence, resilience, consistency. Think about all the people you admire, the people who've accomplished incredible things. Do you think they got there without failing? Absolutely not. They failed over and over again. They faced rejection, disappointment, and doubt. But what they didn't do was quit. They didn't allow failure to become the narrative of their lives. They rewrote that narrative. Every time they fell, they got back up, dusted themselves off, and kept going. That's the difference. The people who make it in life, the people who achieve their dreams, are not the ones who never fail. They're the ones who fail but refuse to stay down. They're the ones who take that failure, learn from it, and use it to come back stronger. Every failure is an opportunity to grow. It's a chance to learn something new, to adjust your approach, to become better than you were before. But you only get that opportunity if you stay in the game. If you give up at the first sign of trouble, you'll never know what you're capable of. Failure is only a temporary setback, not the end of the road. And if you can stay consistent, if you can keep pushing forward, you'll find that every setback is setting you up for a greater comeback. That's the power of failure. It doesn't have to be the end unless you make it the end. You have the ability to turn every failure into a stepping stone, every setback into a setup for something bigger, something better. So the next time you face failure, don't run from it. Don't let it discourage you or make you question your worth. Instead, embrace it, use it, let it fuel you. Learn from it, adjust, and keep moving forward. Because failure, when you look at it the right way, is not the enemy. It's an ally. It's a part of the journey that leads you to success. Inconsistency in the face of failure is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. It's easy to keep going when everything is falling into place, but it takes real strength, real character to keep moving forward when things fall apart. That's where growth happens. That's where greatness is forged. And if you can stay the course, if you can be consistent, no matter how many times you fall, you'll look back one day and realize that failure wasn't something to be feared. It was something to be embraced. Because every failure brought you one step closer to where you were meant to be. Every failure was setting you up for something greater. Every failure was a part of your success story. Remember that the next time you stumble, don't let failure be the end of your story. Let it be the beginning of something extraordinary. Keep going, keep pushing, keep believing, and watch how failure turns into your greatest ally on the road to success. Consistency is the bridge between your dreams and reality. It's the key that unlocks the door to your potential, but it's not easy. It requires discipline, grit, and an unshakable belief that what you're working for is worth it. So from this day forward, make consistency your non-negotiable. Force yourself to show up. Force yourself to do the work, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable. Because in the end, the people who succeed aren't the ones who had the easiest path. They're the ones who refuse to quit. Stay consistent. Stay committed. Your breakthrough is coming. Hey there, have you ever wondered why some people seem to command respect effortlessly while others struggle to gain the admiration and esteem of those around them? Well, today I'm here to shed light on 4 awful habits that might be sabotaging your efforts to earn the respect you deserve. These habits can sneakily creep into your life without you even realizing it, slowly eroding the foundation of respect that you've worked so hard to build. But don't worry, because by the end of this video, you'll have the knowledge and tools necessary to identify and eliminate these respect-killing habits from your life once and for all. Now, before we dive into the nitty-gritty details, let me ask you a question. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you felt disrespected or undervalued by others? Maybe it was at work, where your colleagues seemed to dismiss your ideas without giving them a fair chance. Or perhaps it was in your personal life, where your friends or family members consistently talked over you or ignored your opinions. If you've experienced these scenarios, you know firsthand how frustrating and demoralizing it can be to feel like you're not being given the respect you deserve. But here's the thing, respect isn't something that's handed out freely. It's earned through your actions, your words, and the way you carry yourself. And unfortunately, there are certain habits that can quickly derail your efforts to gain respect, no matter how hard you try. These habits are like silent assassins, slowly chipping away at your credibility and making it harder for others to see you as someone worthy of their admiration and esteem. So what are these 4 awful habits that make people disrespect you? Well, buckle up, because we're about to take a deep dive into each one of them. And trust me, by the time we're done, you'll have a newfound appreciation for the power of your own actions and the impact they can have on the way others perceive you. The first habit that can make people disrespect you is a lack of integrity. Integrity is the foundation upon which respect is built. It's the quality of being honest, trustworthy, and consistent in your actions and words. When you lack integrity, people start to question your motives and your reliability. They begin to wonder if they can trust you to follow through on your commitments, or if you'll say one thing and do another. Think about it this way: if you consistently make promises that you don't keep, or if you're caught in lies or half-truths, how can anyone trust you? How can they respect you when they don't know if they can believe a word that comes out of your mouth? Integrity is like the glue that holds your relationships together. Without it, everything falls apart. So, if you want to earn the respect of those around you, you need to make integrity a non-negotiable part of your character. You need to be honest even when it's difficult. You need to follow through on your commitments even when it's inconvenient. And you need to be consistent in your actions even when no one is watching. But here's the thing: integrity isn't something you can fake. It's not a mask you can put on when it's convenient and take off when it's not. It's a way of life, a commitment to being the best version of yourself, even when it's hard. And when you live with integrity, people notice they see you as someone they can trust, someone they can count on, and someone they can respect. The second habit that can make people disrespect you is a lack of self-respect. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Wait a minute, I thought this was about how to earn the respect of others, not about respecting myself. But here's the thing: the way you treat yourself is a reflection of how you expect others to treat you. Think about it this way: if you constantly put yourself down, if you engage in negative self-talk or allow others to walk all over you, what message are you sending to the world? You're telling people that you don't value yourself, that you don't believe you're worthy of respect. And if you don't respect yourself, how can you expect anyone else to respect you? Self-respect is about setting boundaries, standing up for yourself, and treating yourself with the same kindness and compassion that you would extend to a dear friend. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to settle for anything less than you deserve. When you have self-respect, you carry yourself differently. You walk with your head held high, confident in who you are and what you bring to the table. You speak up when something doesn't feel right, and you're not afraid to say no when something doesn't align with your values or goals. And here's the beautiful thing: when you respect yourself, others can't help but respect you too. They see the way you treat yourself, and they instinctively know that you're not someone to be trifled with. They understand that you have standards and expectations for how you want to be treated, and they rise to meet those expectations. So if you want to earn the respect of others, start by respecting yourself. Treat yourself with the same kindness, compassion, and dignity that you would extend to someone you deeply admire. Set boundaries, stand up for yourself, and refuse to settle for anything less than you deserve. When you do, you'll find that respect becomes a natural byproduct of the way you live your life. The third habit that can make people disrespect you is a lack of empathy. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes, to understand their perspective and feelings, even if they differ from your own. When you lack empathy, you come across as cold, disconnected, and uncaring. You give the impression that you're only interested in your own needs and desires, and that you don't care about the impact your actions have on others. Think about a time when you've interacted with someone who lacked empathy. Maybe it was a boss who consistently dismissed your concerns, or a friend who always managed to make the conversation about themselves. How did that make you feel? Chances are you felt unheard, unvalued, and disrespected. Now, imagine being on the other side of that interaction. Imagine being the person who lacks empathy, who consistently puts their own needs above others, who fails to consider how their words and actions might be impacting those around them. How do you think that comes across to others? Do you think it inspires respect and admiration, or does it breed resentment and disdain? Empathy is the key to building strong, respectful relationships. When you take the time to understand others, to listen to their perspectives and concerns, you show them that you value them as human beings. You demonstrate that you're not just interested in what they can do for you, but that you genuinely care about their well-being and happiness. And here's the thing, empathy isn't just about being nice or agreeable. It's about having the courage to have difficult conversations, to stand up for what's right, even when it's unpopular. It's about being willing to put yourself in someone else's shoes, even when their experiences and perspectives are vastly different from your own. When you cultivate empathy, you become a better leader, a better friend, and a better human being. You inspire others to be their best selves, and you create a culture of respect and understanding that permeates every aspect of your life. So, if you want to earn the respect of those around you, start by practicing empathy. Take the time to listen, to understand, and to consider the perspectives of others. Show them that you value them as human beings and that you're willing to put in the work to build strong, respectful relationships. When you do, you'll find that respect becomes a natural byproduct of the way you interact with the world. The fourth and final habit that can make people disrespect you is a lack of self-awareness. Self-awareness is the ability to understand your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors and how they impact those around you. When you lack self-awareness, you're like a bull in a china shop, crashing through life without any regard for the damage you might be causing. Think about it this way. Have you ever been in a meeting where someone consistently interrupted others or talked over them? Or have you ever had a friend who always managed to make everything about themselves, no matter what the conversation was about? Chances are those people lack self-awareness. They were so caught up in their own thoughts and desires that they failed to consider how their actions were impacting those around them. Now, imagine being that person. Imagine going through life without any awareness of how your words and actions are being perceived by others. Imagine consistently offending or alienating people without even realizing it. How do you think that would impact your relationships and your ability to earn respect? Self-awareness is the foundation of personal growth and development. It's the key to understanding your own strengths and weaknesses and to making the changes necessary to become the best version of yourself. When you're self-aware, you're able to see yourself objectively, to understand how your actions and behaviors are impacting those around you, and to make adjustments as needed. And here's the thing, self-awareness isn't something that comes naturally to most people. It's a skill that needs to be developed and cultivated over time. It requires a willingness to be honest with yourself, to seek out feedback from others, and to make changes when necessary. But when you do the work to become more self-aware, the payoff is immense. You become a better communicator, a better leader, and a better friend. You're able to build stronger, more respectful relationships and to create a life that aligns with your deepest values and goals. So, if you want to earn the respect of those around you, start by cultivating self-awareness. Take the time to understand your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors and how they impact those around you. Seek out feedback from others and be willing to make changes when necessary. When you do, you'll find that respect becomes a natural byproduct of the way you show up in the world. Now, I know that cultivating these habits of integrity, self-respect, empathy, and self-awareness can be a daunting task. It requires a willingness to be vulnerable, to take an honest look at yourself, and to make changes when necessary. But here's the thing, the rewards are so worth it. When you live with integrity, when you respect yourself and others, when you cultivate empathy and self-awareness, you become a beacon of light in a world that can often feel dark and chaotic. You inspire others to be their best selves, and you create a ripple effect of positivity and respect that touches everyone around you. And here's the beautiful thing, respect isn't something that's finite or scarce. It's not something that you have to hoard or guard jealously. In fact, the more respect you give to others, the more respect you'll receive in return. It's a virtuous cycle that feeds on itself, creating a culture of kindness, compassion, and understanding. So my challenge to you today is this: take a hard look at yourself and your habits. Ask yourself if you're living with integrity, if you're respecting yourself and others, if you're cultivating empathy and self-awareness. And if you find that you're falling short in any of these areas, don't beat yourself up. Remember, personal growth is a journey, not a destination. Instead, commit to making small changes every day. Start by being honest with yourself and others, even when it's hard. Practice treating yourself with the same kindness and compassion that you would extend to a dear friend. Take the time to listen to others to understand their perspectives and concerns. And seek out feedback from trusted friends and mentors so that you can continue to grow and develop as a person. When you do these things, when you make these habits a non-negotiable part of your life, you'll find that respect becomes a natural byproduct of the way you show up in the world. You'll inspire others to be their best selves, and you'll create a culture of kindness, compassion, and understanding that touches everyone around you. So, my friends, let's make a commitment today to live with integrity, to respect ourselves and others, to cultivate empathy and self-awareness, and to create a world where respect is the norm, not the exception. Let's be the change we wish to see in the world, and let's do it together. Thank you for listening, and remember, the power to earn respect lies within you. Use it wisely and watch as your life transforms in ways you never thought possible. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but wait, I've been trying to earn respect for years and it hasn't worked. What makes you so sure that these habits will make a difference? And to that I say, fair point. Earning respect isn't always easy, and it's not something that happens overnight. But here's the thing: when you consistently practice these habits of integrity, self-respect, empathy, and self-awareness, you start to see a shift in the way people treat you. It might start small, with a colleague who starts to listen more attentively when you speak, or a friend who goes out of their way to show you kindness and support. But over time, these small changes start to add up. You start to notice that people are more willing to collaborate with you, to seek out your opinions and insights, and to treat you with the respect and dignity that you deserve. And here's the really cool part: when you start to earn respect from others, it has a ripple effect on every aspect of your life. You start to feel more confident and self-assured, more willing to take risks and pursue your dreams. You start to attract people who share your values and your commitment to personal growth, and you start to build a community of like-minded individuals who support and encourage you every step of the way. But of course, earning respect isn't just about what you get from others. It's also about what you give to the world. When you live with integrity, when you treat yourself and others with respect, when you cultivate empathy and self-awareness, you become a force for good in the world. You start to make a positive impact on the lives of those around you, and you start to create a legacy that will endure long after you're gone. Think about some of the most respected people in history, people like Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, and Mother Teresa. These individuals weren't perfect, but they lived their lives with a deep commitment to integrity, compassion, and service to others. They inspired millions of people around the world to be their best selves, and they left a lasting impact on the world that continues to be felt to this day. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be a world-renowned leader or a saint to earn respect. But I am saying that when you live your life with purpose and intention, when you make these habits of respect a non-negotiable part of who you are, you start to create a ripple effect that touches everyone around you. So how do you start to cultivate these habits in your own life? Well, the first step is to get clear on your values and your priorities. What's most important to you? What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of impact do you want to have on the world? Once you have a sense of your values and priorities, the next step is to start aligning your actions with them. This means being honest with yourself and others, even when it's uncomfortable. It means treating yourself with kindness and compassion, even when you're feeling down or discouraged. It means taking the time to listen to others, to understand their perspectives and concerns, even when you disagree with them. And it means being willing to seek out feedback and make changes when necessary, even when it's hard. Of course, cultivating these habits of respect isn't always easy. There will be times when you fall short, when you make mistakes or let someone down. But the key is to remember that personal growth is a journey, not a destination. It's about progress, not perfection. So when you do stumble or fall short, don't beat yourself up. Instead, take a moment to reflect on what happened, to learn from your mistakes, and to recommit to your values and priorities. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. There are countless others out there who are working to cultivate these same habits of respect, who are striving to be their best selves and make a positive impact on the world. One of the best ways to stay motivated and accountable on this journey is to surround yourself with people who share your values and your commitment to personal growth. This might mean joining a community of like-minded individuals, whether it's a professional network, a volunteer organization, or a personal development group. It might mean seeking out mentors or coaches who can offer guidance and support along the way. Or it might simply mean being intentional about the people you spend your time with and choosing to surround yourself with those who lift you up and inspire you to be your best self. Another key to cultivating these habits of respect is to practice gratitude and appreciation. When you take the time to acknowledge and appreciate the good things in your life, whether it's a supportive friend, a meaningful career, or a beautiful sunset, you start to shift your focus away from what's lacking and towards what's abundant. You start to cultivate a sense of contentment and joy that radiates outward, touching everyone around you. And when you make gratitude and appreciation a regular practice, you start to notice a shift in the way you show up in the world. You become more patient, more compassionate, more willing to give others the benefit of the doubt. You start to see the best in people, even when they're struggling or making mistakes. And you start to create a culture of respect and appreciation that lifts everyone up. Of course, cultivating these habits of respect isn't just about what happens in your personal life. It's also about how you show up in your professional life, in your community, and in the world at large. It's about using your platform and your influence to create positive change, to advocate for justice and equality, and to be a voice for those who may not have one. This might mean speaking up when you see something that isn't right, even when it's uncomfortable or unpopular. It might mean using your skills and resources to make a difference in your community, whether it's volunteering at a local nonprofit or mentoring a young person who needs guidance and support. Or it might mean using your voice and your influence to advocate for causes that matter to you, whether it's environmental sustainability, social justice, or any other issue that you feel called to address. When you make these habits of respect a core part of who you are, when you use your platform and your influence to create positive change in the world, you start to create a legacy that will endure long after you're gone. You start to inspire others to be their best selves, to stand up for what's right, and to create a world that's more just, more compassionate, and more respectful for all. So my friends, let's make a commitment today to cultivate these habits of respect in our own lives and to use our influence and our platform to create positive change in the world. Let's be the leaders and the change makers that our world so desperately needs, and let's do it with integrity, compassion, and a deep respect for ourselves and others. And remember, this journey of personal growth and respect isn't always easy. There will be challenges and setbacks along the way. But when you stay committed to your values and your priorities, when you surround yourself with people who lift you up and inspire you to be your best self, and when you make gratitude and appreciation a regular practice, you start to create a life that's rich with meaning, purpose, and respect. So let's get out there and start living our lives with intention and purpose. Let's be the change we wish to see in the world, and let's do it together. Because when we all commit to cultivating these habits of respect, when we all use our influence and our platform to create positive change, there's no limit to what we can achieve. Thank you for listening, and remember, the power to earn respect and create a better world lies within each and every one of us. Let's use it wisely, and let's start today. Have you ever been told that kindness is a virtue? That being kind will bring you happiness, success, and fulfillment? Well, I'm here to tell you that kindness can actually ruin your life. Yes, you heard me right. Kindness can be your downfall. Let me explain how. First, when you're too kind, people start to take advantage of you. They see your kindness as a weakness and they'll exploit it for their own gain. They'll ask for favors, borrow money, and expect you to drop everything to help them. And because you're kind, you'll say yes, even when it's inconvenient or detrimental to your own well-being. You'll find yourself stretched thin, exhausted, and resentful, all because you couldn't say no. I've seen it happen time and time again. People who are too kind end up being taken for granted. They're the ones who are always there for others, but when they need help themselves, no one is around. They give and give until they have nothing left to give. And then they're left alone and empty. But it's not just about being taken advantage of. When you're too kind, you also miss out on opportunities to stand up for yourself and assert your own needs. You're so busy putting others first that you forget about your own dreams and goals. You sacrifice your own happiness for the sake of others, and in the end, you're left with nothing but regrets. Second, kindness can make you a pushover. When you're always putting others' needs before your own, you send a message that your own needs don't matter. People will start to expect you to agree with them, to go along with their plans, and to never rock the boat. They'll see you as someone who can be easily manipulated and controlled. And when you do try to assert yourself, people will be shocked and offended. They'll accuse you of being selfish or unkind because they've come to expect you to always put their needs first. They'll guilt trip you into submission, and you'll find yourself right back where you started, a doormat for others to walk all over. I know it's hard to break out of this pattern. It feels good to be liked and appreciated, and it's tempting to keep doing what others expect of you. But in the long run, it's not sustainable. you'll end up feeling resentful, unfulfilled, and even angry. You'll start to question why you're always the one making sacrifices, and you'll wonder what your life would be like if you put yourself first for once. Third, kindness can hold you back from success. In today's cutthroat world, nice guys often finish last. To get ahead, you need to be assertive, competitive, and sometimes even ruthless. You need to be willing to take risks, to make tough decisions, and to put your own interests first. But when you're too kind, you're often hesitant to do these things. You don't want to step on anyone's toes or hurt anyone's feelings. You don't want to be seen as aggressive or selfish. So you hold back, you play it safe, and you miss out on opportunities to advance your career or achieve your goals. I've seen so many talented, hardworking people get passed over for promotions or big breaks because they were too nice. They didn't want to rock the boat or ruffle any feathers, so they stayed quiet and let others take the credit. They didn't want to be seen as cutthroat or competitive, so they didn't go after what they really wanted. But here's the thing, success isn't handed out based on who's the nicest. It's earned through hard work, determination, and a willingness to take risks. If you're always putting others first and sacrificing your own ambitions, you'll never reach your full potential. You'll always be held back by your own kindness. Fourth, and perhaps most importantly, kindness can prevent you from being honest and authentic. When you're too focused on being kind and not hurting anyone's feelings, you start to censor yourself. You hold back your true thoughts and opinions, and you present a watered-down version of yourself to the world. But here's the thing people can sense when you're not being genuine. They can tell when you're holding back or sugarcoating the truth. And over time, they start to lose trust in you. They start to wonder what you really think and feel, and they question whether they can rely on you to be honest with them. Moreover, when you're constantly suppressing your true self in the name of kindness, you start to lose touch with who you really are. You become disconnected from your own thoughts, feelings, and desires. You start to feel like a fraud, like you're living someone else's life instead of your own. And that's no way to live. It's exhausting, unfulfilling, and ultimately unsustainable. You can't be truly happy or successful if you're not being true to yourself. You can't build deep, meaningful relationships if you're not being honest and authentic. So what's the solution? How can you avoid the pitfalls of kindness while still being a good person? The answer is simple balance. You need to find a way to be kind and compassionate while also setting boundaries and taking care of yourself. That means learning to say no when you need to, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. It means speaking up for yourself and asserting your own needs and desires, even if it means ruffling a few feathers. It means being honest and authentic, even if it means having difficult conversations or facing some conflict. It's not easy, I know. It takes practice and courage to break out of the pattern of overkindness, but trust me, it's worth it. When you learn to balance kindness with self-care and authenticity, you'll be amazed at how much better your life becomes. You'll have more energy and enthusiasm for the things that matter to you. You'll build deeper, more meaningful relationships with people who truly value and respect you. You'll achieve more success and fulfillment in your career and personal life. And most importantly, you'll feel more at peace with yourself and the world around you. So don't let kindness ruin your life. Learn to be kind in a way that nurtures and supports your own well-being. Set boundaries, speak your truth, and take care of yourself first. Because at the end of the day, the greatest kindness you can show to the world is to be the best, most authentic version of yourself. And that, my friends, is how kindness can ruin your life if you're not careful. But it doesn't have to be that way. With a little wisdom and a lot of courage, you can learn to be kind in a way that empowers and uplifts you. So go out there and be kind, but remember to be kind to yourself first. Because when you do that, everything else will fall into place. Let me share a personal story with you. When I was younger, I used to be the epitome of kindness. I would go out of my way to help others, even if it meant sacrificing my own time, energy, and resources. I thought that being kind would make me happy and fulfilled, but instead it left me feeling drained and resentful. I remember one particular instance where a friend asked me to help them move. I had my own plans that weekend, but I didn't want to let them down. So I canceled my plans and spent the entire weekend lugging heavy boxes and furniture up and down stairs. By the end of it, I was exhausted and sore, and I felt like I had wasted my precious free time. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that my friend didn't even seem particularly grateful. They thanked me briefly, but then they went on with their life as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, I was left feeling used and unappreciated. That experience was a wake-up call for me. I realized that I had been so focused on being kind to others that I had neglected to be kind to myself. I had put everyone else's needs before my own, and as a result, I was burning out. From that moment on, I started to make a conscious effort to balance my kindness with self-care. I started saying no to requests that didn't align with my own priorities and values. I started setting boundaries with people who tried to take advantage of my kindness. And I started being more honest and authentic in my interactions with others. It wasn't easy at first. I felt guilty and selfish for putting my own needs first. I worried that people would think I was unkind or uncaring. But as I continued to practice this new way of being, I started to see the benefits. I had more energy and enthusiasm for the things that mattered to me. I felt more confident and self-assured in my interactions with others. And perhaps most importantly, I started attracting people into my life who appreciated and respected me for who I truly was. One of the biggest lessons I learned through this process was the importance of setting boundaries. I realized that being kind didn't mean saying yes to everything and everyone. In fact, sometimes the kindest thing you can do is to say no. When you set boundaries, you're communicating to others what you will and will not tolerate. You're telling them that you value yourself and your own needs and that you expect to be treated with respect and consideration. And when you do that, you create space for healthier, more balanced relationships in your life. Of course, setting boundaries isn't always easy. It can be uncomfortable and even scary at times. But the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. And the payoff is well worth the effort. Another important lesson I learned was the power of authenticity. When you're too focused on being kind and pleasing others, it's easy to lose sight of who you really are. You start to mold yourself into what you think others want you to be, rather than being true to yourself. But here's the thing people can sense when you're not being genuine. They can tell when you're holding back or pretending to be someone you're not. And over time, that lack of authenticity can erode trust and connection in your relationships. On the other hand, when you're honest and authentic, you create space for real, meaningful connection. You allow others to see the real you, flaws and all. And when you do that, you build deeper, more intimate relationships based on trust and mutual understanding. Of course, being authentic doesn't mean being rude or insensitive. It's important to balance honesty with tact and compassion, but it does mean speaking your truth even when it's difficult or uncomfortable. Ultimately, the key to avoiding the pitfalls of kindness is to find a balance between taking care of others and taking care of yourself. It's about learning to be kind in a way that feels authentic and sustainable rather than draining and depleting. And the good news is when you do that, everyone benefits. When you take care of yourself first, you have more energy and resources to give to others. When you set healthy boundaries, you create space for more fulfilling and reciprocal relationships. And when you're honest and authentic, you inspire others to do the same. So if you're someone who struggles with being too kind for your own good, I encourage you to start small. Start by saying no to one request that doesn't align with your priorities. Start by setting one boundary with someone who tends to take advantage of your kindness. Start by being honest about one thing that you've been holding back. And as you continue to practice these new ways of being, be patient with yourself. Remember that change takes time, and there will be moments of discomfort and even resistance along the way. But trust that by being kind to yourself first, you're ultimately being kind to everyone else in your life as well. Because here's the truth, the world needs more kindness, but it also needs more people who are willing to be kind to themselves. It needs more people who are willing to set boundaries, speak their truth, and take care of their own needs. And when we all start doing that, we create a ripple effect of positive change that extends far beyond ourselves. So go out there and be kind, but remember to be kind to yourself first. Remember that your own needs and desires matter just as much as anyone else's. And remember that by taking care of yourself, you're ultimately taking care of the world around you as well. And if you ever find yourself feeling guilty or selfish for putting yourself first, just remember this: the greatest gift you can give to the world is a happy, healthy, authentic version of yourself. So don't be afraid to prioritize your own well-being, even if it means ruffling a few feathers along the way. Because at the end of the day, kindness isn't about being perfect or pleasing everyone around you. It's about being true to yourself and treating others with compassion and respect. And when you learn to balance those two things, you'll find that kindness becomes a source of strength and empowerment rather than a burden or a weakness. So let's all commit to being kind in a way that feels authentic and sustainable. Let's set boundaries, speak our truth, and take care of ourselves first. And let's trust that by doing so, we're creating a world that is kinder, more compassionate, and more connected than ever before. Thank you for listening to my story and my thoughts on this topic. I hope that my words have resonated with you in some way and that you'll take them to heart as you navigate your own journey with kindness. Remember, you matter just as much as anyone else, and your own needs and desires are valid and important. So be kind to yourself and watch as that kindness ripples out into the world around you. Thank you.